Good morning, students. Today I am continuing chapter 3. In last class you have learned cropping the figure, drawing basic shapes and flipping the figure. And you have done I have told you how to do the practicals. Now I am teaching this portion of the next portion of this chapter, that is getting unstuck. Listen carefully. Sometimes you may experience a few issues while working on GIMP. For example, the software may become unresponsive at times. However, there are solutions for these problems. Let us check the problems that might occur, how they can be solved. Sometimes what happens when you are doing and suddenly it stopped working. You can see the layer but you cannot change or doing your work. That time, that is called unstuck. The screen becomes stable. So, how to solve this problem? First one is floating selection. Floating selection is also called a floating layer. Remember this line. This is very important line. That floating layer, there may be one question that what is floating layer. The floating selection is also called floating layer. It is a temporary layer. Due to floating layer, you cannot perform some actions on the layer. That means you opened the layer, you did something and it stopped working. That is called floating. That is not active layer. That is floating layer. You cannot perform any action. For example, you may not be able to draw an object in a layer due to floating selection. That means the selection remains floating. To detect the problem, check the layers section. The topmost layer is the floating selection layer. That means then you have to see the layers, check the layers, whether it is floating layer or the active layer. Then how you will solve it? Solution. You need to anchor the floating layer with the anchor command to an active layer to solve the floating layer. That means with the help of anchor command, you have to change or make the layer active in place of floating. How? These are the steps. To activate the anchor command, on the image window, click the layer menu. At the topmost, so many menus are there. You have to click the layer menu. The layer menu appears. This is the figure. This is the figure of the layer menu, and here is anchor layer. See. Okay. So click the anchor layer, and then it will be, the floating layer will be activated. You can also anchor a floating selection by creating a new layer. Click the anchor button on the layers selection. Either you change the floating layer into active layer, or you have to create a new layer for working. That is one problem, floating layer. There is another problem. See, hidden selection. A selected image has dotted lines around it. Sometimes lines do not make the image details clearly visible. That means when you select anything, you can see there is this type of dotted line around the picture. That is called selection. But sometimes you cannot see. Then what you will do? Solution. On the image window, click the View menu. The View menu appears as shown figure 3.17. This View menu, click the Show selection. Option is selected. If not, click the Show selection option and the tick sign appears beside the Show selection option. This is Show selection. When you select it, here one arrow, this tick mark will appear. That means it is activate, and then you can see the selection. Active layer is not visible. Sometimes you see that layer is active but it is not indicates. Sometimes you may not be able to view the layer you are currently working on. The eye symbol beside a layer in the layer selection indicates that it is visible. That means the active layer is working or not, the layer is active or not. A eye symbol, see here, eye symbols, which one is active, there you can see the eye symbol. That means it is eye symbol is selected, that means this layer is active. Solution. On the layers dialog, under the layers selection section, check whether the eye symbol is visible beside the active layer. If not, click the first toggle button of the left of the active layer. The eye symbol becomes visible. That means if you cannot see the eye symbol, then you have to click here and it will be visible. Here, eye symbol. Hence the active layer becomes visible. That means in which layer you are working, you can see. No actions can be performed on active layer. There are maybe two reasons for not being able to view the action performed on the layer. The layer you are currently working is not a first position of the layer section. That means it is not in the first position. That layer means, suppose you have drawn one picture, again one, so each page are called layer. So sometimes it is not working currently. You are currently working but it is not in the first position. That means first page. Or the opacity of the layer is low. Opacity means clarity. What you will do, to bring the layer to the first position, press and hold the left mouse button and drag the required layer above all the layer as shown in the figure 3.19. Hence the active layer becomes visible. See here. That means you have to drag and bring it topmost. That then the layer will be topmost and you can see the active layer. To adjust the opacity of the layer, clarity of the layer section, drag the opacity slider shown, and this is the opacity. You have to drag and increase, to drag towards and increase the opacity of the layer. This is up to here only, and the chapter is completed. Chapter 3. What we have learnt in this chapter: creating drawing with a pen or paintbrush. The steps are there. Next, creating basic shape. Basic shape means either circle, rectangle, triangle, other shapes. Next, changing the size of the image, increase or decrease height or width of the here to increase or decrease height, you have to give the points over here, and this is called scale, and then you have to reset and then scale. And here the pix means the pixel. It is measured by pixels, percentage, inches, millimeters, point, picus, centimeter, meter, feet, yard, and so on. Then cropping an image. That means why we crop image? When we do not need the whole picture of the image, then we select some portions of the image, and that is called cropping. Here are the steps up to here, that is cropping. Then flipping. Flipping means creating mirror image of the picture, that is called flipping. Flipping also the steps are here, and here 3 true false. See, you can create a mirror image of an image by flipping it. It is true. Okay. To create a rectangle, click the selection tools and select the rectangle. Select. And trimming the image as required is called cropping. Okay, it is. Now, when we face the problems, different type of problem we get during the work. Sometimes it is floating selection. How to solve these are, and then hidden selection. Active layer is not visible. How we can understand the layer is active? We can see the eye symbol beside the layer name. That is active. And if we cannot see the clear picture of the image, then we have to solve the problem. First we have to bring the layer up, and then we have to drag and increase the opacity of the image or layer, and up to here only. Now main points what we have learned in this chapter. We can create a drawing in GIMP using drawing tools. We can create shapes in GIMP using selection tools. An image can be resized, cropped, or flipped in GIMP. An image needs to be scaled to increase or decrease its size. That means we can give the point measurement of scaling of the image. You can flip an image horizontally or vertically to create an mirror image. The process of trimming an image is called cropping. See here, fill in the blanks, match the column and name the following. You have to write your own, but in question answer I am telling you the portion. First, explain the floating layer. See, turn. Page number 34. Note down. Page number 34. Here, floating selection. Here you can find floating selection is also called the floating layer. It is a temporary layer. Due to floating layer, you cannot perform some action on the layer. And for example, up to here, this is answer question number 1. Then question number 2. What is the purpose of crop option? Why do you crop? See, turn the crop steps. Number 2. Sometimes you may want to use only some part of an image. In this case, you can trim the image as required. This process is called cropping. This is the answer of question number 2. Now question number 3. How can you detect that a layer is active? When I was teaching, what I told, that when an eye symbol is visible at the side of the layer name, it is called, you can understand that it is active. The eye symbol beside a layer in the layers section indicates that it is visible, and it is the answer number of question number 3. Now question number 4. Write the steps to flip an image. Here you have to write the whole thing from here to here. All the steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All 5 steps you have to write, and for flip you have to write one sentence also. And then question number 5. Write the steps to crop an image. Cropping, here you have to write what is cropping, and you have to write the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So students, I think you have noted all the answers, and fill in the blanks, true and false, and then name the following. This you have to write your own. You have to search in your book and you have to write it. Okay? So, students, today up to here only, and next day we will revise the chapters again.